Durham City. A city at the heart of a county built on coal and community solidarity. That collective solidarity is evident today, and we must use that to build a better future. Since we met in 2019, we've witnessed some significant events and lived through some challenging times. However, we've kept our timber in, survived, and we meet again on the racecourse. Within 6 months of the general election in 2019, we lost 4 Labour seats being lost to the Tories, some for the very first time. Bishop Auckland, Sedgefield, North West Durham, Hartlepool, Darlington, Blythe, the list goes on. All key seats with some fabulous socialists lost along with that. Equally, we've lost a key vision for a much better and equal society. We now have a Tory coalition running the Unity Authority in County Durham for the first time in its history also. This must change. It's time a political party built to represent working people and people of our class develop a socialist agenda that will appeal to the communities of County Durham and beyond. Communities that have been subject to callous and deliberate policies to fragment our connectivity and sense of belonging. Policies that are designed to break organised labour. Just last month, Grant Shapps mooted changing the law for agency workers to break strike action. He's effectively legalising and encouraging scab labour, pitting worker against worker. Policies that reward capital with profit whilst neglecting workers. We've witnessed this in sackings of PO workers and RMT members. The chief executive of P&O blatantly boasting that he and his company had broken employment rights legislation in pursuit of profit. But is it any wonder? Is it any wonder when business leaders act in this way, when the Prime Minister himself flouts the laws his government have created? There's clear evidence that there's one rule for them and one for us. The Tories don't respect us, they never have and they never will. Look back at their track record from 1984-85. Look at your peer, the divisions in society, the waiting lists in the NHS, the state of your children's schools, the lack of amenities in our villages, the price of our energy bills and the state of public transport. My message is clear. If you voted for Tories in 2019 during the local elections, you've made a grave mistake. It's time we ditch the Tories in County Durham and across the UK. They're no friends of ours. Their responses to the COVID pandemic question their competency and priorities. They failed to close down the country at the earliest opportunity, protecting businesses over lives. Their failure to stop the spread of COVID early in the pandemic is a public health catastrophe. It cost thousands of preventable deaths and pain for grieving families. The Tories had the audacity to clap key workers on Thursday evenings, yet failed to reward them financially or recognise their true worth. But comrades, let's not forget, never forget, that the Tories have got a track record of letting down key workers. Coal miners across the UK fueled the Industrial Revolution. Coal miners powered the war efforts, yet coal miners and their communities were attacked and described by Thatcher as the enemy within. Coal miners are the key workers of the past. They were sacked and victimised by Thatcher and her Tory government, many of them left unable to work again after taking collective action to protect jobs and their communities. Men and women of the coalfields were given criminal convictions for picketing. It's time these heroes of 84 and 85 were pardoned and given adequate compensation. Comrades, I'll say it again. history's repeating itself. Teachers, support staff, council workers, those who work in retail, transport, the emergency services, social care, housing, the NHS, and many more. These are the occupations that have proven to be critical to our country in its time of need. The pandemic has shone a light and brought into focus the real value that should be placed in society. The Durham Miners Association unanimously decided that we must do our utmost to afford them the recognition they so richly deserve. It's for that reason that the guest speakers for the 136th big meeting derive from the key workforce and their respective trade unions. And I sincerely hope those in the corridors of Westminster and employers across the country get this message. To make it their priority to get round the table with trade unions and address this cost of living crisis by awarding above inflation pay rises to all sectors of the workforce, including those who've had to endure wage freezes and pay caps imposed since 2010. It's a scandal that 17% of people are having to take on a second job to boost their income since the cost of living crisis begun. And that's rising to 20% for essential workers. It must stop. We've got to demand better. Let's get angry at the sheer unfairness and total disregard that this government has shown to our people. Let's build collectively and be willing to fight for more, just like those trade unions currently taking industrial action. Yes. Because I'm going to send a loud message now. If you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And this advice applies to the front bench opposition benches as well. Get out to Westminster, get on the picket lines and fight for those at work and our working class. And friends, I'm sure I'm speaking to an audience that understands this, but I think it's only pertinent I conclude. If you're not in a union, join one and never, ever, ever vote Tory. Solidarity!